Hey guys, welcome back to my studio vlog. I am so sorry I didn't upload last week. I honestly have a valid reason. It's because I was attempting to make this top, but it didn't really turn out as planned. So I'll show you guys later on like what I originally envisioned. Yeah, the entire plan like fell through. I am very happy though that it turned out really cool. As you can tell, I have my logo in this HTV vinyl, which is heat transfer vinyl. Yeah, I am so happy with the results, but it took 2 weekends and 4 failed attempts to get to this point. Yeah, honestly, it was like annoying initially because I had to, I'll explain it more in the video with like voiceover. But yeah, I am really happy with the results. I actually got a new CRICUT die cut machine. I am so happy. I've actually been eyeing this machine for like a long time, over like a year. And you guys in America, you know, for anyone who lives in America watching this, you guys are honestly so blessed and fortunate that you have like so many sewing materials and like cool gadgets, you know, easily available. So in Singapore, the only place to purchase this is at Spotlight, which is like an Australian franchise. And honestly, very pricey. So it goes for $7.50 and I wasn't really wanting to spend that amount, only because like I had to save up a lot more. But I managed to get it off Amazon and it was like way cheaper. So I'm like honestly so happy. So today was actually my first attempt at doing this iron-on vinyl, and honestly like I am so thrilled with the results because I've been wanting to do this process for like a while. But I actually had this machine for about 2 weeks now, but I kind of just left it you know, on the shelf because I wanted to make the t-shirt first to have like the base before I started exploring the machine. But this t-shirt just took a while to make, but I definitely learned a lot in the process, and so I'm actually really thankful for that. So yeah, I hope that you guys will enjoy today's vlog. Definitely a lot of like learning curve, and I do apologize for like the previous vlogs where I didn't really explain what I was doing. I'm gonna put in more effort so that you guys aren't really lost with like what I'm trying to do, and hopefully you can learn a thing about making clothes through this process. So let's jump straight into today's vlog.
Hey guys, so I started off by tracing a t-shirt and sleeve pattern off my existing bodice block with both the front and back pieces and a pair of sleeves. I then pinned the pattern pieces onto my jersey fabric. Initially I was gonna go with this really beautiful rib knit, but I ended up having a pattern that was too short and cropped for my liking. You'll see later. So I was a little bit bummed that I sort of wasted fabric for that attempt, but that's okay, you learn. So anyways, I started off by sewing the shoulder seams together, followed by the side seams. What happened was I realized that the neckline was way too high for my liking, and so was the shape of the armhole. So I made amendments to my paper pattern and trimmed off the excess of my t-shirt. I then moved on to repeat the process for the sleeves by sewing up the side seams together and overlocked and pressed all the raw edges. Next up is attaching the sleeve to the body from the insides. I started by pinning it, followed by sewing it together and finishing off with overlocking and pressing it. After doing an initial fit test, I realized that the sleeves were too long, so I trimmed off a chunk of its length. I then finished off the raw edges with a lettuce hem, also known as a pearl marrow stitch, using my overlocker. The finishing would have looked a lot tighter and fuller if I had used woolly nylon thread, but unfortunately it's really difficult to find that in Singapore, so I resorted to using regular overlocking thread instead. So when testing the fit yet again, I realized how terrible the lettuce hem looked on the neckline, so I decided to scratch that idea. Honestly, I was originally gonna go with making a self-binding neckline, but I was really lazy. So I wanted to take a shortcut by trying this pearl marrow stitch out, but it didn't suit this material nor the project, so I had to can the idea. This time around, I got off my lazy and I actually made a self-binding neckline. I wanted the final binding to be 3/8 inches wide, which is about 2 inches wide when cutting out the initial pattern. If you have a thinner material, the final width would come out to about 1/2 inch, but a thicker material like mine would look a little bit chunky with a final 1/2 inch neckline. Overall, I wasn't wild with the results. I think the crop length of it was the real bummer, which made me determined to try out a couple other attempts the following weekend. So I made adjustments to my paper pattern by increasing the length of the t-shirt as well as reducing the length of the sleeves. I was a lot happier with the new length, but on hindsight, I would definitely lengthen it a little more the next time round. So in this attempt, I made 3 t-shirts. I realized that the neckline was sitting really weirdly because I didn't cut the self-binding neckband on bias. I was honestly lazy and resorted to cutting it against the grain line, but lesson learned, if you want to cut corners, literally, it never saves you time. For my second t-shirt, I tried to finish the neckline with the pearl marrow stitch, but it looked weird yet again. So I resorted to cutting off the entire neckline and changing it to an off-the-shoulder elasticated design instead. And now, featuring my brand new rose pink CRICUT Maker machine. Isn't she lovely? Isn't she wonderful? Jumping straight into the CRICUT design space on my iPad Pro, I started off by tapping the canvas icon on the top right of the screen. I had uploaded my logo design as a PNG file prior to the screen recording, and I was able to find my design by tapping the image icon down the bottom on the left of the screen and browsing all images. You can find your uploads by tapping onto the filters icon up the top, then tapping ownership and upload it. Tapping onto my design, I then scaled it accordingly. I normally work in metric, hence the scaling for this project. Since it was my first time using the interface and gauging the logo size, my cut was a tad bit big, and so I had to recut my vinyl a second time round. I then went on to tap the Make It icon, which brought me to the Make page. Don't forget to mirror your design when working with iron-on vinyl. You can click the material size button to pick a canvas that suits your project. But what I've discovered and love about using the CRICUT design space on my iPad is that I can use the snap matte feature down the bottom. Basically, the software taps into your camera and allows you to take a snapshot of your actual mat with the material placement so that you can use scraps or smaller pieces of material and then move your graphic on screen so that it fits whatever piece you adhere to your mat. It is so cool. So when I was happy with my design placement, I tapped the continue button down the bottom of the screen. Be patient as Design Space tries to locate your machine to connect to it. You would then choose the material according to your current project. In my case, I chose everyday iron-on vinyl. To prepare the mat for cut, place the shiny side of the vinyl facing down to stick onto the mat. I used a brayer, which is that roller thing, to flatten the vinyl down evenly. Next up, I loaded my mat onto the machine, following the instructions on screen by clicking the flashing CRICUT button on my machine, and away it cuts. The next step was to unload my mat, remove the vinyl piece off of it, and using tweezers and my weeder, I would then remove bits of the vinyl that is not part of my logo. Next, I placed the vinyl onto my t-shirt, and using a measuring tape, I measured to get what I felt was the best placement for my logo. I then brought my t-shirt to my heat press machine and adjusted the settings to 150 degrees Celsius for a duration of 20 seconds. I started off by pressing my t-shirt for a couple of seconds, then measured out the placement for the logo again using my measuring tape. When I was happy with the placement, I placed a sheet of baking paper on top of the design and pressed it for 15 seconds. Lifting the heat press, I waited for a couple of seconds before peeling the sticker off the vinyl and pressed the design again for a couple of seconds to really let the heat set the design in. And voila! I have my brand new t-shirt. As a wrap up, these were the final 3 looks that I made for this project.
Hey guys! So welcome back. I hope that you managed to learn a thing or two about just the entire process of dressmaking, and hopefully you'll learn from my mistakes as well. There were quite a few in this week's attempt, but I want to continue to encourage myself and tell myself that mistakes happen and it's actually the best place to learn. I'm honestly really proud of myself because it really took a lot of patience and perseverance to actually get through this project. There are moments where I just wanted to enjoy the weekend. So I've mentioned this before, that I'm currently doing all of this during my weekend, and while I love it, it's also a bit of a stretch because I don't really get to relax in a sense, but it's something I'm really passionate about, and I'm just gonna keep pushing through for the next couple of months. And I hope that today's episode will encourage you to not give up, especially when you're trying to do something and it can be discouraging at times when you keep fumbling and falling, but it's important to just get back up on your feet and keep going, because at the end of the day you'll be able to get the results if you keep pushing through. And so I'm really happy with my top today, and as you could tell, I have 3 completely different designs. I wasn't very happy with the other 2, only because I think I've been wearing like t-shirt material, which is like usually jersey, for quite a while. Especially when I was living in Sydney, I was dressing like super underdressed, very hobo, and so I was never really inspired by the way I dressed, and also because I was really lazy as well. So I think like making the tops in this material sort of reminded me of my very unproductive and lazy days, so I was a bit like uninspired by the results. But overall, I'm really happy that I pushed through and I managed to make 3 tops. Whether or not I'll wear the other 2, I don't know, we'll see, but at least we made it. Especially with this top, I really love how my logo looks on it. I think it's pretty cool, and it's just like I love being able to see just the label on like clothing, because it kind of just reinforces the dream, or something to work towards. It just makes me really proud and happy that I attempted it and I managed to push through and we did it. So that's the end of today's episode. I'm really excited for the next episode. I kind of have some ideas in mind, and hopefully it turns out well and you'll be able to see it next week. Till then, bye!